This is NHK World, Japan. We now bring you the news from Radio Japan at 11 hours UTC on Tuesday, July the 2nd. I'm Keith McFarlane.
And I'm Eriko Kojima.
In our top stories, a night of escalating violence in Hong Kong has left the territory shaken and its government scrambling to respond.
Japan's deteriorating relations with South Korea may soon hit businesses in both countries.
And Japanese weather officials are warning residents on the main southwestern island of Kyushu to be on high alert for more downpours and possible mudslides. Now, the news in detail. A night of escalating violence in Hong Kong has left the territory shaken and its government scrambling to respond. Chief Executive Carrie Lam called a news conference early Tuesday, just hours after protesters ransacked and vandalized a key government building. Lam said the following: "The extreme use of violence and vandalism by protesters who stormed into the Legislative Council building over a period of time, this is something that we should seriously condemn." The demonstrators smashed their way through thick glass to get inside. Some destroyed surveillance cameras in the seating gallery and painted political messages on the walls. Hours later, police were able to clear the building using tear gas. Government officials say 59 people were injured, including some police. The protests occurred as the territory marked the 22nd anniversary of its return to China from the UK. The demonstrators oppose a bill that would allow suspects in Hong Kong to be extradited to the mainland. The backlash has led millions of people to take to the streets in recent weeks. Lam has resisted calls to resign over the matter. She noted that the extradition bill was suspended last month and that there is no plan to resume debating it. She says the bill will likely expire next July, when the current legislative term expires.
China's government has issued a statement strongly condemning the siege of Hong Kong's legislature by young protesters and urged local authorities to investigate. In a statement, the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of China's State Council said radical elements used extreme violence to storm the legislature and carried out large-scale assaults. It said these serious illegal actions damaged Hong Kong's social order, calling them a blatant challenge to the principle of one country, two systems. The office urged Hong Kong authorities to hold offenders criminally accountable under the law and restore social order as soon as possible. Some Hong Kong citizens say the protesters went too far in storming the legislature, but many others say Hong Kong's government has been ignoring citizens' voices.
Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary says Tokyo is closely watching developments in Hong Kong. Yoshihide Suga said on Tuesday that Japan's Prime Minister had stressed the importance of maintaining a free and open Hong Kong under the policy of one country, two systems in a recent summit meeting with China's president. He said that the Japanese government has strong expectations that Hong Kong's stability will be maintained.
Japan's deteriorating relations with South Korea may soon hit businesses in both countries. Japan's top government spokesperson has indirectly suggested that the wartime labor issue is behind plans to restrict some exports to South Korea. Tokyo is set to apply tougher rules on shipments of substances used in high-tech products like smartphones and semiconductors. Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga was asked about the matter at a news conference on Tuesday. He made the following comment: "South Korea has repeatedly rejected the long-standing friendly ties between our two countries. Separately, it failed to produce a satisfactory response to the wartime labor issue before the G20 summit, which severely damaged trust in the relationship." The South Korean government has condemned the measures, calling them economic retaliation. Suga denied that's the case. The move comes months after a South Korean court ordered Japanese companies to compensate workers who say they were forced to work for them during World War II. Tokyo has called on Seoul to set up an arbitration panel to settle the dispute, but Seoul has not responded to the request. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe did not hold bilateral talks with his South Korean counterpart during the G20 summit in Osaka last week, and the two men sat at different tables during a banquet on Friday.
South Korea's foreign ministry has asked the Japanese government to retract its decision to restrict some exports to the country. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Kim In-chul told reporters on Tuesday the announcement is deeply regrettable, as it could have a negative impact on bilateral relations. Kim added the government will cooperate with domestic firms in preparing a response, while analyzing in detail Japan's measures and how they would affect South Korea's economy. The South Korean government appears to be carefully considering how to minimize the impact of Japan's decision on its domestic semiconductor production. The country's export-dependent economy has been slowed by the U.S.-China trade dispute.
You're listening to Radio Japan of the NHK World Japan Network. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif says the amount of low-enriched uranium stockpiled in the country has exceeded the limit imposed by the 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. Zarif told an Iranian news agency on Monday that the stockpile consists of more than 300 kilograms. In May, Tehran declared that it would stop honoring some of the commitments outlined in the agreement in response to the unilateral withdrawal of the United States from the deal last year. Iran says it is not benefiting from the removal of economic sanctions that the agreement mandated. If the report is verified, France and other European nations which signed the deal could rule that Iran is in violation of the pact. Tehran also says that on Sunday it will start producing more highly enriched uranium, which could lead to the development of nuclear weapons. The nuclear deal required Iran to curb its nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of sanctions. The framework of the agreement is now in danger of falling apart. The UN nuclear watchdog has confirmed that Iran's stockpile of low-enriched uranium has exceeded the limit set by the 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. The International Atomic Energy Agency made the announcement on Monday.
Saudi Arabia's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs is urging countries to pressure Tehran to abide by the 2015 nuclear deal. Adel Al-Jubeir issued a call for action during an interview with NHK on Monday. He attended the recent G20 meeting in Osaka. Referring to Iran's decision to stop honoring some commitments outlined in the nuclear deal, Jubeir said the international community should apply maximum pressure on Iran to make the country comply with the agreement. He also called for enhanced inspections. The minister said his country will work with Japan and other nations to come up with a plan to ensure that ships can travel safely in the Gulf region. Escalating tensions between Iran and the U.S. have sparked security concerns. In June, 2 tankers were attacked near the Strait of Hormuz, a key oil shipping route. The minister flatly rejected a UN report on the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. It calls for investigations to be launched into the roles played by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and senior officials. Jubeir said the UN investigator had already formed biased opinions about the incident before she started writing the report.
U.S. President Donald Trump had an ominous message for Iran in response to their recent announcement on their uranium stockpile. Trump had the following to say: "They know what they're doing, they know what they're playing with, and I think they're playing with fire, so no message to Iran whatsoever." The White House says Trump also spoke by phone with French President Emmanuel Macron about the matter. Meanwhile, the British Foreign Secretary tweeted the following: "Deeply worried by Iran's announcement that it has broken existing nuclear deal obligations." In his Twitter post, Jeremy Hunt said the UK remains committed to making the deal work and to using all diplomatic tools to de-escalate regional tensions. Hunt urged Tehran to come back into compliance with the deal.
Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono reacted to Iran's revelation on Tuesday. Kono said that it's extremely regrettable that the amount of low-enriched uranium stockpiled in Iran has exceeded the limit set by the deal, although he doesn't know if the breach is temporary or not. He said that Japan will continue urging Iran not to increase the stockpile and not to boost the concentration of uranium further.
Just days after reaching a truce in its trade war with China, the United States is threatening to impose additional tariffs on imports from the European Union. The U.S. Trade Representative's office says it's considering fresh levies on $4 billion worth of products. It listed 89 items that could be targeted, including cheese, pasta, and whiskey. The U.S. and the EU have long accused each other of unfairly subsidizing their aircraft makers, Boeing in the U.S. and Airbus in Europe. The U.S. announced back in April that it was planning to hit the EU with levies on $21 billion worth of goods. The latest list would supplement that. The EU responded at the time with a list of possible retaliatory tariffs. Washington says it will consider the World Trade Organization's views before actually imposing the additional tariffs.
Japanese weather officials are warning residents on the main southwestern island of Kyushu to be on high alert for more downpours and possible mudslides. Torrential rain continues to soak southern Kyushu and elsewhere. The meteorological agency says rain clouds are developing as a seasonal rain front is hovering over the region and hot, humid air is flowing into it. Some areas in southern Kyushu have had record rainfall of more than 800 millimeters since the rain started. In Kagoshima Prefecture, the risk of mudslides has sharply increased and warnings have been issued. Weather officials say the rain front will become more active from Wednesday morning through Thursday. They expect localized downpours of more than 80 millimeters per hour for some parts of Kyushu. They say some areas could have more than the average monthly rainfall for July in just one day. They expect 180 millimeters of rain in northern Kyushu and 150 millimeters in southern Kyushu in the 24 hours through Wednesday evening. Weather officials expect heavier rainfall of between 300 and 400 millimeters for northern and southern Kyushu in the following 24 hours. They warn that the downpours from Wednesday afternoon could trigger disasters such as mudslides, flooding in low-lying areas, and swollen rivers. They say residents must put protecting their lives first. They are urging people to keep abreast of the latest information on weather conditions and any warnings issued by local authorities. They're also calling on people to make themselves aware of the location of the nearest emergency shelter.
Japanese basketball player Rui Hachimura has signed a pro contract with the Washington Wizards of the National Basketball Association. Hachimura last month became the first Japanese player ever selected in the first round of the NBA draft. His agent said Hachimura had agreed with the team on a contract at a hotel in Las Vegas on Monday. He's scheduled to play in the NBA's Summer League, which is for young or new players, starting in Las Vegas on Friday. NBA first-round draft picks get a guaranteed 2-year contract under the league's labor management accord. For the third and fourth years, teams have the right to choose whether to extend their contracts.
The organization behind the Academy Awards says it has invited over 800 people to be voters for the most prestigious awards in the film industry. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences released on Monday a list of the 842 invitees from 59 countries. Among the invitees is Mamoru Oshii, a Japanese anime director who is known for the 1995 film Ghost in the Shell. Also chosen from Japan is Katsuhiro Otomo, the author of the popular manga series Akira. The Academy came under criticism in 2016 when all 20 contenders for acting awards were white for the second consecutive year. Of this year's invitees, 50% are women, including Lady Gaga, who starred in A Star is Born, and 30% are non-white. The invitees will become a member of the Academy when they accept the invitation. Finally, let's take another look at the top stories at this hour. A night of escalating violence in Hong Kong has left the territory shaken and its government scrambling to respond. Japan's deteriorating relations with South Korea may soon hit businesses in both countries. And Japanese weather officials are warning residents on the main southwestern island of Kyushu to be on high alert for more downpours and possible mudslides. And that was the news from Radio Japan of the NHK World Japan Network. I'm Keith McFarlane.
And I'm Eriko Kojima.
You can also find the latest news in English on our website at nhk.jp/rj.